Kia ora, nau mai ki te whare. Welcome to The House, ko Louis Collins aho.
Schools as well. So what we've agreed to do is review that. If I remember rightly, it sits under the delegation of Erica Stanford from the...
It's a typically crisp Saturday morning in June, and I'm at the RSA in Rangiora, half an hour north of Christchurch. The local Waimakariri MP, Matt Doocey, is hosting a Q&A session with over 60s from around the electorate.
Alrighty, who's next?
What are you doing to stop the brain drain going out of New Zealand?
I think people leave New Zealand for a range of reasons, and I think in some areas that should be encouraged if you're going offshore to build your worldview, learn more in your career, travel. But I think more to your point, it's the people who feel like they don't have a choice. And they are saying, actually, I prefer to stay in New Zealand, but when I look at maybe Australia, I see more opportunities. And so I'm begrudgingly leaving. And that, I think, is a real concern.
Meeting with the community is a thing that Doocey, who is also the Minister for Mental Health, likes to do regularly in Rangiora, Kaipoi and Oxford, the main population centres of the Waimakariri. As you'd expect, there was plenty of questions about happenings in the area, queries about the local medical centre, the local schools and things like that. Likewise, though, was there an abundance of big-picture questions about the economy, overseas conflicts and the environment. Once the Q&A had wrapped up, I caught up with one of the locals in attendance.
My name's Chris Knight. I'm a retired chef, living in Rangiora 3.5 years.
Do you find meetings like this beneficial?
Yes, yeah. Don't often get an opportunity to meet or talk to an acting MP, and I like to follow politics on Question Time. I watch that now and then, well, regularly. But yeah, to come to something like this and actually meet your local MP is good.
Describe some of the issues that are unique to this electorate that concern you.
Yeah, rural housing development on what should be farmland, or is farmland, and it's taken over by housing, so where you're going to grow your crops. And the more we do that, the closer we get to the mountains, the less area you've got to grow crops. And though I think the governments need to look at, developers need to look at where they are actually building and make sure they're not restricting the amount of farmland that we've got.
Do you feel like there's ways that you can engage with councils and governments to make a change?
Well, there is. I mean, there's always channels to talk to people.
Do you think they're effective?
Not always. I think there's a lot of time things get ignored. They get stacked on a pile that's to do later, you know. That's how bureaucracy works. Sometimes you get those MPs that are and councillors that are forward-thinking and want to get things like that done. But yeah, you don't always get the response that you want, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Do you feel listened to at events like this?
Events like this, yes. Yeah, I think they're good because there's quite a few people coming in, so everybody's listening. One lady did make the point thanking me for my question, which I thought was good.
Can you remind us what your question was?
Yeah, it was about the cost of living and trying to get prices at a level where, and I wanted to press it further, where people can afford it. I mean, I'm a pensioner. My wife and I, we're lucky that we're in a fairly solid financial position, but notwithstanding that, there are people that are not in a good position. You can't afford to buy a leg of lamb. We grow the stuff. We export a hell of a lot of it. And then it's like with pork. Pork is a big issue for me. We grow really good pork in this country, especially in the South Island, locally, up around Cheviot. And we import pork from all over the world. Why? We grow it here. If we're exporting it to those countries, why are we importing their stuff back? Especially when their husbandry levels are not as good as ours. So we're buying substandard stuff. It's the same with dairy products. Yes, we have a massive dairy business and milk powder business, but why are we paying $10 for a block of butter? That's just, to me, nonsensical.
Are you optimistic for change?
I'm always optimistic for change. Just wonder sometimes where or what direction that change will come from. And if there's an election, judging by the polls recently, would we get a change in government? In a way, I hope we do, not necessarily to lose the primary government that we've got now, but the coalition for me just does not work. There's too many headbutts and clashes, and that needs to be sorted out. But I don't think that the leader is strong enough. I don't think he's a strong enough personality. He's a good CEO. He was working as a CEO. He's a corporate bod, and I don't think he's a politician. I worked for a large food organisation in New Zealand many years ago in sales, and we had people just like that at meetings and at conferences, and they were great at what they did, but they couldn't ride a bicycle. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and I think that's one of the problems we've got with the leadership. I've always voted Labour all my life in the UK and here because I believe in social democracy. Fervently believe in social democracy, and I don't think we get that with a more right-wing government. I think Matt does a pretty good job around here. I read some of the stuff that he has in the papers, and he's always around and available, which is good. Whether or not I'll vote for him next time remains to be seen.
In the lead up to the next election, Doocey, like any electorate MP, will likely ramp up that community work and availability, ultimately trying to earn a tick on the ballot from people like Chris. Doocey has been the local MP since 2014, and he seems to be well liked in the community, even by people that might not vote for him. I was curious as to how he approaches the role, particularly this term, where he finds himself as a minister in cabinet as well as an electorate MP.
Matt Doocey, Member of Parliament for Waimakariri. We're here at the Rangiora RSA. Just had my over 60s coffee morning. It was well attended, and as you'd expect, a lot of lively chat and plenty of questions and forthright statements.
Any curveballs?
Not really. I mean, what I do love about holding these events, it's a real opportunity to get a range of views in the room. I mean, I clearly don't know the questions I'm going to be asked, but I've been the Member of Parliament here for 11 years now, and because I try and make myself as accessible as possible, I'm always hosting these public meetings. So over time, I build up a knowledge base of the issues in the local area, and I think quite rightly, people want to turn up and be able to eyeball their local representative and just make sure that that individual's over the issues of the area they're representing.
What are other kind of issues down here? It's sort of semi-rural, so it'd be a lot of that, but what kind of stuff is coming up today?
Yeah, well, out here in towns like Rangiora, Kaipoi and Oxford, you know, when I grew up, they were kind of called dormitory towns where it was more a rural setting, but post the earthquakes, we've had significant growth out here. It's one of the fastest growing areas of the country, and when you have that significant growth, you have what I call growing pains of growth. And quite rightly, I've got to get in and make sure I back that this area gets the investment it needs into vital infrastructure. That might be like the Wood End bypass, a new road of national significance. Recently, we announced 8 new classrooms out here for the Wood End school, and making sure we got the public services that respond to the significant population growth.
And you're getting all sorts of questions, kind of both very small about, you know, a local road, and you're getting things about the Paris Climate Agreement. You know, there's sort of a really wide range of inquiries that are going on at these events, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so. And look, you know, when you ask me about is there anything new there in the questions, look, there's always new questions, but ultimately it does remind me after each morning tea I do that politics is quite local. And so people do want to ask you a specific question about potentially a road in their neighbourhood, or maybe there might be an issue with accessing a local public service. And then for some people, they do think a bit more nationally, and they want to have a talk about the economy or what's happening internationally in the current geopolitical environment. So I find that really exciting.
You're a minister as well as an electorate MP. Do you find that difficult to balance?
Yeah, it does take a bit of balance, right? Because classically what I do is I fly up first thing Monday morning, because we have cabinet on a Monday morning. Then Parliament sits on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and so I might come home on a Thursday night, or I might be around the country on a Friday. And, you know, I've been the local MP here for about 11 years, so people have got to know me. They know me as a guy who gets out, and they quite often just meet on the street
or when I'm out shopping, because I live here as well. And I do prefer to be as accessible as possible. But like you highlight, there is some constraints when you're away a lot. Either in Wellington sitting or when you're around the country doing your ministerial role. So you do have to get that balance right. And that's why I do what like I'm doing this morning, is coffee morning on a Saturday morning. Because A, I'm here for the weekend, and B, people do like the idea of coming to a meeting when it's not as pressured during a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and we can spend a bit more time unpacking the issues of the day.
So does that mean a lot of your work, constituency work, is delegated to your staff in your offices?
Yeah, you do need good staff in your office, whether you're an MP, either in opposition or government, or a minister, because you are away a lot. And so your staff are really your front line. And look, a lot of them can deal with the issues at hand in quite a timely manner.
What kind of issues are they?
Well, if you think about it, quite often people come when they've kind of dropped out of a process or a system. It might be about a government agency, whether it be ACC or immigration or WINS. And what we do is understand what the issue is, and then what can an MP do? Well, through our office, we can go up to a higher level in a government department, escalate their issue in quite a timely fashion, and get them connected to the person they need to talk to as well. So in that way, constituents don't need to wait 2 weeks to see their local MP. They can actually talk to the electorate agent in the MP's office and quite often get what they need within 24 or 48 hours.
Do you think people know about that service? Do you think because when you drive down the main road of Rangiora and you see your office, you see the National Party branding. They think, I don't support National, so I might not be able to use the services. Do you think that applies to many people?
Yeah, I think we should acknowledge that and never underestimate it. I think what I do, I make myself very clear, is that when I'm elected after an election, obviously we're only elected for a 3-year term, I'm here to serve all in the Waimakariri, irrespective of how they vote. But I do acknowledge that sometimes people come in and there might be a perceived barrier there about whether they voted for me or not, or whether they voted for my party. But I make it very clear, as a local MP, I'm here to work for everyone. And I think over time people have got to understand that, and actually when you're working as a local MP, it's not a party affiliation. In fact, it's a Waimakariri affiliation, because you just want to help everyone in your community. I love the ability just to be on the ground. I feel very lucky here in Waimakariri. Look, I've got a young family. I've got an 11 and 9-year-old that go to the school locally here. My wife works locally here as well. And quite often I'll talk to people and they say to me, Matt, I saw you on the street the other day. I was going to come up and ask you something, but I saw you're with your family, so I thought I'll come and talk to you another time. So I do like that I've been accepted here over the years, that people know the time that they can come and see to me and sometimes ask me some challenging questions about potentially positions of the government on policy or issues they're not happy with, but equally out in the community they can respect that I'm just one of the community members who are bringing up a family, and that's quite nice as well.
That was Matt Doocey, MP for Waimakariri. E te whakarongo koe ki te whare. You've been listening to The House, a program made with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Matua.